Welcome to the 5 o'clock show. It's time for Common Sense. Now, it's Katz and Cosby with John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby, standing for truth, justice, and the American way, bringing common sense to the world. Now, here's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Breaking news, WABC.
And welcome to Katz and Cosby. And big breaking news, John, because right now, as we speak, we are waiting to see what is going to happen with Iran. And just a little bit ago, John, President Trump was talking, and he said he has not ruled anything out, and he even said big stuff could be coming.
Well, we got Newt Gingrich on the show. He's
and
coming
Laura
on.
Trump.
And Laura Trump. And Newt Gingrich said that he spent 90 minutes with the president last night. So maybe he has a pulse of what he thinks is going to happen.
I can't wait to hear.
Because there's only one person that knows. The president.
Exactly.
There's nobody else that knows.
But I think Newt would have a good pulse. I agree.
Calling in, we have Netanyahu's right-hand person for many, many years. And she's on.
Tal Heinrich.
And
also Dov Hikind, who's going to be talking, John, about the New York City attack, the stabbing, which we'll get into in a moment because everybody's talking about that.
So we're covering everything. We're covering Iran. We're covering Hezbollah and Hamas and Houthis. And my God, I'm dizzy from covering all the covering. In the studio with us, we have Ed Cox, the New York State GOP chairman. And we have Judge Richard Weinberg and Governor David Paterson. Well, Ed Cox, you're surrounded by two Democrats.
I'm perfectly comfortable with those two Democrats.
Can you handle
all common sense?
Yeah, I was going to say they're a little different than some of the new Democrats that are coming in, the Democratic Socialists.
They're common sense, except they're Democrats.
Now, David Paterson, we're still here, and we're still waiting for Lyra.
Lyra's going to be calling in a minute.
Okay.
But, John,
I want to know, James Carville. James Carville me and James had a big argument two years ago, and now he's come our way.
James Carville, I think, like a lot of us, you get set in your ways, but then you keep seeing more and more evidence to the contrary, and he is not saying the same things now that he was 2 years ago.
Wait. Can I say one thing? He's not saying the same things now that he said 2 weeks ago.
Now,
so let's be clear.
Well, me and Judge Weinberg
actually, Rita,
went to breakfast.
Trying to give him a break, but you're absolutely right. It's let's just say he is spinning into a different phase of his life.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
Me and Judge Weinberg went to breakfast at the Regency with James Carville.
That's correct.
And I thought he's going to, he asked us for some contributions to his PAC. And I refused to give it to him because I thought he might give the money to some crazies.
Wow. I'd still wait on that.
Okay, and he hasn't spoken to me for 2 years.
Wow. Well, let me...
Does this mean he might talk to us again?
But
Maybe.
Wait, I got to tell you, today, let's just talk about... I'm just going to talk about optics, okay? Today, he came out, and I know what you're talking about, John. He came out and said, these Democratic Socialists, they're crazy, they're ruining... You know where he was talking from? It looked like he was in his bed. It looked like he just woke up. Yep. His hair was... So I'm not sure which side of the bed he's waking up on.
Well, but I want to be clear. That breakfast, he made very clear that he was not a big fan of Joe Biden running for re-election.
Well, who was he supporting? AOC?
Oh, my God, Harris.
I mean, come on.
Was I going to give any money to James Carville if he was going to support Harris?
Can I say one thing? I'm very proud of John. That's why I love John. I'm very proud of
Yeah, we have
John.
a little bit of common sense.
I'm very proud of you, my friend. Very proud of you, because it's a little flipping and flopping.
Look, I was friends with James Carville for 30 years, and then he just stopped talking to me.
Look.
Well, that's not good.
Look, he's a sensible guy. His wife is a Republican.
Yeah, Mary Madeline.
Exactly.
Mary Madeline.
Does he talk to her?
I hope so. We'll find out. I'm not sure if he's talking to anybody these days. The way I saw he looked today.
I resemble some of these comments here.
Okay.
Oh, my God. So, you guys, let's also talk before we're going to have Laura in a minute or two. The New York City subway stabbing, everybody's talking about it, and the reaction. I'm sorry, the streets stabbing that happened.
On the Upper West Side.
Excuse me, outside of the synagogue, which is just so sad. This crazy guy, but so many people.
What are you calling crazy?
Yeah, no, you're right, because I think they're going to use that.
Is that the crazy guy that speaks Muslim?
Well, the one who said Allah Akbar for sure, right?
No,
I
was
was just checking with you.
No, I agree. And I agree. And that's why it's actually very dangerous when you see the comments that came out. And let's get to one other thing. Mayor Mondani, we got that post. Everybody saw the post yesterday. We was talking about the tax on second homes. And that was a big thing he put out. Somehow he put that out before he talked about this horrible stabbing.
Took him 5 hours to say anything, and then he just muttered platitudes. And he's the one who's creating the whole environment of this hatred, of this Jew hatred, the anti-Semitism, the attacks against the state of Israel, against Netanyahu. Why don't you do your job, Mr. Mayor, which is to take care of cleaning up the streets, make sure it's safe, build up the economy. Let's do the right thing by the people. Otherwise, why don't you just leave, let somebody become mayor who wants to do the job?
Well, and also is a mayor to everybody in New York. That's the issue. And the problem I have, he couldn't wait to do these posts this week, blasting Netanyahu in the last week or so. It was like rapid fire. And yet here is this horrific crime that happened with these two individuals right near a synagogue, one of them Jewish. And yet it's like crickets. He's talking about tax the rich. Look, it's like that to me speaks volumes.
It's not that he's indifferent to it. He's ginning up his base. He's ginning up the crazy.
And that's dangerous. That's very dangerous. Governor Patterson.
One thing that we should all keep track of now is there'll probably be some psychiatric examination, and that will be part of this moron's defense. But the reality is, really, at a trial, at a case after what he's done, it's whether or not he knew the difference between right and wrong, and he clearly did.
And he also hid, too. And
that's right.
And I'm sick of this, like, obviously, they're all crazy to do what they're doing. There's no doubt. But technically crazy is a whole different distinction, to your point, Gov. But what I think of, he hid afterwards. He hid.
We got some breaking news. Jesse Jackson's daughter has just been announced. She reveals that she has converted to Judaism.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow, that's very interesting. Wow, and I want to say, speak out on behalf of Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson, who you and I both knew very well, John. Jesse Jackson always was very sympathetic to the Jewish population. He was always quite inclusive. Other than the time
he called New York Town.
Well, you know, there's a couple examples
another breaking news and a fine thing in New York City. Livery cabbie shot in the face by bystander after New York City fender bender.
Well, that doesn't sound good. That's for sure. This is scary.
This is good. He was shot by a bystander. In other words, he was shot by someone who wasn't in the car.
I guess so.
You guys, we have calling in right now. We've got Laura Trump. Laura, let's first get your reaction to this horrible stabbing that took place in New York. And the reaction or the tepid or lack thereof, in a way, by the mayor.
Yeah, I mean, guys, this is, you say it's scary, it's terrifying. The number one job of leadership, whether it's in a town, a city, a state, or a country, is to protect your citizens. And unfortunately, what we see here with this mayor is that not only has he not protected citizens, you guys are talking about this awful stabbing, the thing you just reported about the livery cab driver being shot. The city is a mess. The city is in shambles. This is the number one thing he should be focused on. But unfortunately, we've seen the way that this mayor has seemed to snub at the very best the Jewish population, and at the very worst, you have his wife who posted these horrific posts after October 7th, seeming to side with terrorists, with Hamas, so sort of championing what happened in Israel. You have him skipping the Israel Day parade. We know what he said about Netanyahu. And in a moment like this, where we've seen on college campuses, starting in New York City with Columbia University, all of this anti-Semitism pouring out, a leader should be pushing back and should be speaking out on behalf of the Jewish people. But we know it's the opposite. And unfortunately, I don't think that this is the end. I am afraid that this is the beginning. And I hope that the New York City residents understand now why people like Zoran Mamdani are so dangerous to put in leadership positions. And this is just the tip of the iceberg with this guy.
Laura, you said you fear it's going to get worse. I sadly do, too. Why do you believe that?
Well, I think that, you kind of, in your first 6 months as a leader, you probably test the waters. You probably make some kind of calculated risks and see what happens. And if, the things you're doing are kind of going towards your end goals. And we know his end goal is socialism. And in the first 6 months of his administration, it feels like New York has gone from bad to worse. I think if you want to bring down a city like New York and turn it into a socialist nightmare, you probably are going to see a lot more of these things happen. He's taken money away from the NYPD. He promised a lot more cops on the street, and yet we have not seen that happen. Whenever your focus is not on, again, your number one job, I think it can only get worse. And we've seen some bad mayors in the past. I'm afraid he might be the worst one so far, and that says a lot because we just had Bill de Blasio in there.
And what's so troubling, Laura, too, is it's part of this trend of these sort of democratic socialists. It's in their platform. It's all anti-Israel. It's anti-this. It's anti-that. How concerned are you about this sort of strain? Right before you came on, we were talking about James Carville, who now is sort of sounding the alarm this week, about the democratic socialists. But there's very few of them that are doing it.
Yeah, you have very few people in any sort of leadership position within the Democrat Party who have called this out. And it's really crazy because you would think that all of them would want to salvage their party. But the problem is they had 4 years with Joe Biden as their quote unquote leader. He left this void. No one filled it. Their only platform was to go against any and everything that Donald Trump did, no matter the fact that it was great for the country, that these things are common sense, like closing our borders, like no men competing against women in sports, not transitioning our children and giving them life-altering chemicals and surgical procedures to try to change their gender. They went in the opposite direction. And so they left a space open for these socialists to come in and take over. And I think a lot of us initially laughed about it and we said, oh, well, this will never stick. People actually won't go for socialism in the United States of America. And yet our educational system has failed the youth in this country. It has not taught our students and our children and these younger generations about the dangers of socialism. This is a clickbait culture. This is a culture of instant gratification. The youth of America right now, they hear something like socialism, free stuff. You get something free. Everything gets spread out. It sounds like sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows until, of course, you run out of other people's money. And I think that's where we are in this country. So they've had this ability to get a foothold. This has grown. This is where the momentum is within the party. And you have very few, again, of these traditional Democrats who have been willing to call it out. And this is, they've made their bed. Now they're going to have to lie in it. And it's fracturing their party.
Laura, I know tomorrow night, fill us in, because on Saturday night, you've got a pretty good guest. And you're talking about faith and sports.
Yes, I have Clayton Crenshaw, who is the former pitcher for the LA Dodgers. He was with the Dodgers for 18 straight seasons, sort of unheard of in professional sports these days. But he sat down with me. The Dodgers were at the White House yesterday with the president, and he talked about faith, family, life after baseball. And you might remember that a couple of years ago, he put a very famous Bible quote from Genesis on his hat during the Pride Day that the Dodgers had. And I think it's pretty amazing because he talks about the meaning of the rainbow in Scripture and why he was willing to do that and branch out and speak about his faith at a time when it does feel scary, as we're talking about right now, to a lot of people to do just that. But, talk about socialism and the crazy Democrat Party. I also have John Fetterman on, who has toyed and kind of floated the idea of potentially switching parties, leaving the Democrats and becoming a Republican and a leader soon, has said he would welcome him into the GOP. I have encouraged him to come on over to the GOP as well. I know I sat down as well with Caroline Leavitt, back from maternity leave, obviously back at the podium doing all the things. And tomorrow night at 9 o'clock, you can catch it all.
Wow. Well, it sounds like an awesome show, John.
I look forward to listening to it. Now, anytime I look at it at 9 o'clock in the evening on Fox in New York in the Eastern District. And if I fall asleep, I watch it at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's on again.
Because it's so good. It's on twice.
Both, John. I'll take you on both fronts.
And sometimes I watch it both.
Well, I appreciate it. And I will see everybody tomorrow night, 9 p.m. on Fox News.
Thank you,
Look
Laura.
forward to it.
Lauren, thank you very much. Have a great weekend. And John, I understand we have calling in right now the former Speaker of the House. Laura was just talking about the guy, the Dodgers player who was with the president yesterday, and I think our next guest was with them too.
I'll take this one. Calling in right now is Speaker Newt Gingrich. He got to spend 90 minutes in the Oval Office last night with the president. And Newt, that must have been a great, interesting discussion.
Well, it was a lot of fun. Calista, as you know, is the ambassador to Switzerland, and we've both known the president for a very long time. And I think because he had just had a great Rose Garden event with the Los Angeles baseball team, the world champions, he was in a great mood. And so we covered a lot of ground. We were also delighted because Speaker Mike Johnson, who'd had a great day yesterday, they passed 5 major bills and left for the August recess on a real high, having really gotten the job done in the House. He joined us, and Susie Wiles, who I think is the best chief of staff to a president in my lifetime, she was also joining us. So it was just a great chance to talk and cover everything from, the campaign to Iran to reminiscing about some things and all the different things he's involved in. We were kidding about how the Gulf of America has now begun to be normal, and one of the news channels was reporting on weather in the Gulf of America, and that was one of those things that Trump did in passing.
I mean, is the Gulf and Greenland done yet?
No, I didn't raise it either. Okay. I didn't want to encourage him. I think he has enough things on his plate for right now. But we did talk seriously about the election and what we have to do to make sure that the Republicans win this fall. Chatted some about Iran. I'm not going to go into any of the details, obviously, but it was fun to be with him in part just because he was relaxed, and when he has a chance to sidestep all the enormous pressure of being president. I mean, he's a very interesting, frankly pleasant guy to talk with, and a great storyteller. And we were all of us kind of swapping stories, and I think Calista certainly is going to go back to Switzerland, having had a chance to have a pretty long conversation, and we're going to be at the White House Correspondents' Dinner with the president, which is also we're going courtesy of C-SPAN, and I'm very grateful to them for inviting Calista and me to come and be their guests.
Well, that's got to be a big one for tonight, and I guess the president is going to be the main speaker.
He is. Of course, a friend of mine said, it's a little tricky because, of course, the people he most wants to attack are in the room. I mean, it's, Donald Trump and the news media is an entire book of its own.
So my prediction is he's really going to hit them.
Oh, of course he will. Now, hopefully he'll also be funny. But I think they're a little bit shell-shocked. But frankly, so many of them are so liberal and so one-sided that they kind of earn it. So I don't feel too sympathetic for them. But, that's a long tradition. I mean, Reagan had a rough and tumble relationship. Nixon had a rough and tumble relationship. If you're a conservative Republican, you just have to assume that 90% of the news media is on the other team.
You're absolutely right. Anything else you want to tell the people on a Friday night? Are you looking forward to this dinner tonight? I mean, it's going to be.
Sure.
It's going to be funny.
We'll see a lot of old friends, and that's the one thing about being in Switzerland is that we're not part of the Washington crowd per se. But the other thing I'd say to people is they ought to look at all the bills that the Republicans passed in the House yesterday and realize that there are things happening, there are positive things underway, and then things, for example, like these Trump savings accounts for children. I think there are over 1 million homes now that have a Trump savings account. It's a really remarkable success story, and those things are going to earn interest for the entire life of the child. So they have, they're basically laying aside the money to either start a business or go to college or whatever. It's a very smart idea, and it's catching fire. And the president was down in Georgia with Rick Jackson, who's the Republican nominee for governor. Jackson, who himself was a foster child and has been very generous and helped over 700 foster children. But Jackson announced that when he becomes governor, he's going to challenge the state of Georgia to match the federal fund so that Georgia's young children will have a really nice, robust start to having money being saved. And I think that's important because if we can teach young people that over time, hard work and savings and interest buildup are real. That everybody has the chance, if we design it right, to buy a house, to go to school, to have a better future.
Newt Gingrich, have a great time tonight and with Callista, and looking forward to watching it on C-SPAN for tonight, and we'll catch up with you. Maybe we'll talk on Sunday.
Look forward to it.
Wow, very interesting. And Ed, your thoughts also about sort of with the midterms, because Newt certainly knows midterms, and who knows what President Trump will talk about tonight.
He feels this is a huge election. It's going to be a change election, and Republicans win it, keep the majority in the House, certainly in the Senate, and we become the majority.
What channel is it on tonight?
Wow. You know what? It'll definitely be on C-SPAN. It's usually always, and the president's speech, you guys, usually C-SPAN does all of it, like arrivals, speeches, but usually all the networks will break in when he starts speaking. And he starts speaking, I think it's like right before 9 o'clock. So I can't wait. I'll be here. I can't wait.
It'll be exciting.
I know. I can't wait. So, John, we're going to take a break, you guys. And then we have Dov Hikind, who is, of course...
he is one tough Jewish guy.
President of the Americans Against Anti-Semitism. And I can't wait to get his take on this horrible stabbing that happened.
Common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
And we are back. And of course, everybody talking about that horrible stabbing that took place. 2 people stabbed in broad daylight right near a synagogue in New York City yesterday. And who better, John, to talk about it than Dov Hikind, the former Brooklyn Assemblyman. He's also president of the Americans Against Anti-Semitism, John.
Well, they're getting tough, and they got to get tougher like the old days when they defended themselves.
Dov, your thoughts about this?
Well, absolutely. We need to be tough and strong and unapologetic. And this is just happening on such a regular basis. People in the Jewish community are afraid. I mean, you see the young man who was stabbed on the floor, and the person responsible for this is a guy by the name of Mamdani. The mayor of the city he's been inciting people, and the violence that is taking place, I lay it right at his doorstep. I mean, this man is so filled with hate and animosity towards the state of Israel, towards the Jewish people, plain and simple. So, we need to move away. I see a lot of the statements from some of the Jewish so-called leaders, the mayor has to tone it down. What do you mean tone it down? The guy is out of control. He's laughing at you. He's laughing at us. Look, I'm talking about the DA of Manhattan, Bragg. I know where he's coming from. We need to take legal action against the mayor. The mayor is committing crimes every day by incitement and possibly hate crimes. Someone has to deal with this. And if it's not going to be Bragg, it needs to be the Justice Department. There are victims every single day, and I blame the mayor to a great extent. And he doesn't stop. And, one of the things I just have to say, one of the things about Mamdani, he is probably the most honest guy in town. He's a radical Islamist. He's proud of it. He doesn't pretend anything different. It's the rest of us that are wishy-washy and don't recognize who we're dealing with. When people in the Jewish community go to Gracie Mansion to eat cheese danishes with him and shake his hand and hug him and all the rest of it, I mean, for God's sake, he is laughing at us. He's getting away literally with murder. It's responsible, and we need the authorities. If it's not going to be the city, the state, then definitely I intend to do everything in the world for the Justice Department to examine the law with regard to the fact that Mamdani guilty at the very least of incitement. I don't think there's that much argument that his language and the things that he has said and done have definitely incited people to commit acts of hate crimes, and maybe even violated federal, anti-discrimination laws. So let's get tougher. Let's get stronger. Let's stop pretending that if we, talk nice and maybe we can we get them to lower the rhetoric? How much? 50%, 10%, 70%? We got to stop with this freaking nonsense and be tough and strong and confront this man who is a radical Islamist.
Well, Dov, you are fired up. Let me bring in former Governor David Patterson, who's also with us. Gov.
Well, Dov, thank you for that letter you wrote to me about 9 months ago. And this just takes me back to the hate crimes bill and all the things we worked on in the 90s and the beginning of the century. And it's just frightening to be sitting here having this conversation when someone is asked to lower the rhetoric. I don't even know what that means, because you are essentially recognizing that the person has a viewpoint that is more about slaughtering people around them than helping them.
Hey, Dov, we lost you there. Can you hear us?
I'm here. I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I thought somebody got you.
Yeah, we thought. Uh-oh, he's speaking out. Go ahead, Dov.
Look, first of all, I love David. He's one of my heroes. God bless you, David. Love you. But look, words have consequences. We know that. And the hateful rhetoric that's come out of this mayor, nonstop. It's almost like he's the mayor that the issues that he cares about more than anything else, that he relishes, that he enjoys, is this hateful rhetoric, whether it's against Bibi Netanyahu, against Israel, and ultimately it's against the Jewish people. Because if I tell you, if I wear a Star of David, one of those Jews, connected to Israel, and we have a situation where attacks upon Jews is happening every single day. It's not just the ones that we end up reading about in the newspapers and listening to on the radio and television. I can tell you that I know many people who have come to me who have been victims of real serious crimes in New York in terms of these hateful crimes, who are afraid to go to the police. I beg these people, I'll go with you, I'll hold your hand. They don't want to go. Number one, they're afraid. They're afraid. They're the victims, and they are afraid. And number two, I don't think anything is going to happen. You can commit a lot of hateful crimes. Nothing will happen. The record is very, very clear. That's why we need to get the authorities involved. If it's not going to be, by the way, simple question. Has the mayor indulged in incitement?
Hey, let me ask, actually,
no.
Dov, hold on one second, because let me ask Governor Patterson,
Ed
as
Cox,
an attorney.
Ed Cox is an attorney, too.
Yeah, and either one of you want to chime in from a legal perspective. What are your thoughts from a legal perspective, either one of you guys? Gov?
Take it away, monsieur.
I'm not a lawyer.
I am not a criminal lawyer.
Yeah,
I'm a
go ahead.
corporate and finance lawyer. But to indict the mayor, it was going to. I think you have to go through some real legal hoops to get that done.
Yeah, I mean,
that's just my instinct.
That sounds difficult.
Nobody says it's easy. It's the message it would send. It's not crazy. Like, Dove, what are you talking about? The mayor inciting? He's not inciting. Why are you exaggerating? I'm not exaggerating. He is, through his rhetoric. If we look at everything, the things that he has been saying on a regular basis, the things that he has put out are directly connected to the violence that is happening in the streets of New York. So it's not a question, do we end up indicting him? I'm not worried about that right now. I want the investigation to start. I want, hopefully, the federal authorities to take a look at it. Let's examine it. And I think we'll all be surprised, because I think there is reason to take action against this mayor. What are we waiting for?
No, it's a
We
powerful
murdered in the
statement.
streets?
Hey, Dove, hold on 1 second. Let's go to Gov Patterson.
So, Dove, in a lot of ways, I would compare this to the federal government having to come in during the civil rights marches of the 60s. It's the same thing. It was hate. It was trying to kill people. It was not letting them lead their lives or have decent housing. And what I want to suggest is on Monday, I will call you, and maybe we might want to work on that letter together.
Love it. I love it. Oh, David, you're fantastic. Look,
Beautiful.
people out there, again, I'm a pretty straight shooter. You guys know.
No.
You know.
That's why we love you, Dove.
Thank you. But unfortunately, there's very little courage out there. And I mean in particular in the Jewish community. Everybody wants to play it every single way. Let them lower the rhetoric, and you end up going to Gracie Mansion. Look, I know he's the mayor. You got to deal with him. I get it. But you don't have to freaking embrace him. You don't have to hug him. And by the way, when you hug him and you do that, he's laughing at you all the way to the bank.
By the
we are
way,
going to pursue this.
Well, listen, I can't wait to hear what happens between you and Governor Patterson. That's the dream team.
We've had
That's
to do
the
this
home run
in the
team.
past, and this is just as dangerous, if not more dangerous, than it ever was in the 90s and the beginning of the century.
Wow, what a powerful statement. Ed Cox.
Yeah, I think also he could be liable with respect to the things that he said about Netanyahu and threatening to arrest him. And that is clearly something that I would think violates federal law.
Can I say that he knew from the very first moment during the campaign when he said that he was going to arrest Bibi Netanyahu, he knew that was a lie. He was being dishonest. So the continuing hateful rhetoric, and let me tell you, if you didn't watch the video of Mamdani, you cannot appreciate the vile hatred and animosity displayed by this smiling guy, mayor who has this smile. He is one of the most dangerous people when it comes to the well-being of the Jewish people, the well-being of the people of New York. Mamdani is not telling people to go out and beat the shit out of people, excuse me, but his rhetoric is causing people out there, some that are well, some that are not so well, to commit acts against people who are identifiably Jewish. Jews are taking off their yarmulkes. Jews are taking off their Star of David.
Well,
Jews are removing anything Jewish about them.
Dove,
Crazy.
listen, we all agree this is so horrific, and it'll be interesting to see what Leo Terrell, Harmeet Dillon, those folks on the federal government, this is their area. This is going to be very interesting. And with you and Governor Patterson, Dove, we love you. You keep up the great fight. It's an important one. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, and you guys are amazing. And David Patterson, superstar.
As
Yes,
President
you are
Trump
too.
says, fight, fight, fight.
Yes, absolutely. Fight against hate. Bravo, Dove.
Love you, Dove.
Take care. Have a great weekend,
Thank
everybody.
you. Thank you, Dove.
And Rita, the top news of the day, sponsored by Goya Foods, one great company.
It's the top news of the day, sponsored by Goya. Here's Rita Cosby.
Well, you guys, this just in. The New York Times is reporting that it was an Iranian threat that prompted President Trump's Air Force One plane to be swapped. Remember when he was
news.
there? Yes.
It's old news because the Israeli KGB or whatever.
Yeah, told him.
Told him.
Exactly. And now the New York Times
Yeah.
is confirming it. So that's the new news.
2 weeks later?
Yeah, no,
Yeah, right.
no,
Thank you.
about 2.5
Thank you.
2.5 weeks later, right?
Thank you.
Isn't it 2.5
They could
weeks
have called
later?
me. I would have told them.
Exactly, you should have. By the way, speaking of the New York Times, guys, the reporter for the New York Times was questioning President Trump. Here's another doozy, saying, okay, would you like a question to the president today? And there are a million questions about Iran. The question was, if you blow up maybe bridges or power plants, isn't that a war crime, Mr. President? The president said, but where are you from? And it said New York Times. No thanks, fake news. Next. So that's the other New York Times for today. And also the other big story, we're talking about the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt is promising that President Trump, as Newt Gingrich was talking about, John, with you, he says that President Trump, we're finding out, is going to deliver an entertaining speech at the rescheduled White House Correspondents' Dinner tonight, the first event.
I can't wait till 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I can't wait either. He's going to be great, John.
Wherever I am, I'm going to be home on TV set at 9 o'clock.
He's always good. And he's, I can't wait to see what he says to the press. You know he's going to say fake news. Needless to say, also, on a very serious note, the security is going to be very intense. It's the first event, of course, since rescheduling here with the White House Correspondents' Dinner, since they had the event in April. It was, of course, horribly interrupted after that gunman sprinted through security in an alleged attempt to assassinate the president and others. So let's hope everybody is safe, most importantly. And you guys, when we come back, we're going to talk to Gordon Chang a lot about China and Iran.
Commuting home with Katz and Cosby. Now here's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby on 77 WABC.
Well, we've been to Iran, we've been to Washington. Let's go to the Far East, and we have Gordon Chang and his Twitter handle at Gordon G. Chang. You'll know about what's going on 24 hours a day. Well, Gordon, there's so many things happening. What the heck? People are waiting for you to hear what's going on.
Well, you have so much going on in Asia right now. So, for instance, the Chinese are engaging in very belligerent activities against the Philippines at Scarborough Shoal. They used water cannon on a Philippine vessel that was carrying some CNN camera crews. But the big thing is the Chinese economy right now. It's the story that won't go away. China is not growing at the 4.3% pace that they reported. It's probably 1, maybe 0, maybe -1. We got unemployment more than 20% in the cities. It's a mess, and I think it's driving a lot of China's belligerence. We have Xi Jinping going to come to Washington on September 24th. There's a lot of discussions now between the United States and China over just about everything, and I imagine they're also talking about Iran, because we know from open source reporting that the Chinese have been helping the Iranians with all sorts of things, and the Iranians have been using that assistance to kill Americans.
You know, that I wanted to pick up where you are there, Gordon, on that, because I've seen a whole bunch of reporting of late that they've been supplying some, either whether it's the weaponry or even some of the intel, they in Russia, to pinpoint not just some specifics about U.S. bases that might be not be widely known, but also CIA sites. That's really troubling. Yes, well, China has allowed Iran to take over at least 1, probably 2 of its satellites that have been used for precise targeting. And the reason why that's important was because on March 1, we lost 6 service members in Kuwait at the port. That was 99.9999% the result of Chinese targeting. Also, it's almost certain that the Chinese targeting has resulted in other deaths since then. This is not a good situation. President Trump was asked about this today. He said that the Chinese and the Russians were not supplying weapons, but he didn't talk about data. And that's exactly what you're talking about, Rita. You know, it's so interesting. I noticed that, Gordon. His language was very careful to say, I don't have evidence of the weaponry, but he left out all the other kind of ways you can facilitate. Which, yes, and we know that in March that China Iran fired off the CM-302 Chinese missiles at the Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group. Fortunately, none of them hit their targets, but those were Chinese weapons. Well, Gordon, it's Richard Weinberg. Good to talk to you. Which raises the question, Trump's language, very careful, but we know what they're doing. What are we going to do about it to deter it? You gotta ask Trump about that. I don't know what we're going to do. I'm sure there are a lot of conversations that are occurring, especially between Secretary of State Rubio and Foreign Minister Wang Yi, which just took place about a couple days ago. But if it were me, I'd be doing a lot more. I would not have Xi Jinping come to the White House.
when you have any country participating in the killing of Americans, you do not invite their leader in a ceremony of honor at the Capitol.
Good point.
Yeah, Gov. Patterson, what else are your thoughts to Gordon?
Well, that's really it, Gordon. It's just that I think sometimes the president wants to kind of be fair to everyone, even at times when he's being unfair. But the reality is that's just not the way to let another country who's already doing things to you behind your back know that they can come to the White House and have tea and that kind of thing.
Well,
meanwhile,
remember what he did to him last time. In Mar-a-Lago, he was having tea, he was having dessert, he's ready to have ice cream, and the president gets up and says, by the way, what was the by the way?
I just struck wherever it was. You may be aware, I just pounded I think one of the locations. Syria. Yes, Syria. So funny. Syria. I was going to say Syria, Gordon. Right? He said, "Excuse me, could you pass the cream?" Oh, by the way, I just hit Syria. Anyway, it definitely sent a message that Trump is in control, and it was certainly a very powerful message.
But we're not in control now.
Beautiful chocolate cake. The world's most tasty chocolate cake. And Xi Jinping actually was on good behavior for a few years after that because Trump really just took him off his game.
Judge Weinberg?
But Gordon, we're not in control now. If they're doing this with impunity and they're killing our people, this has to stop. And it has to be a clear message. Whatever the device is to stop them from doing this, it has to happen now because it's only going to get worse if we don't stop it.
Yeah, and China was much more belligerent after the May summit when President Trump went to Beijing. And by the way, when we talk about the Chinese killing Americans, we can't forget fentanyl. Last year, 48,000 Americans died in what we call overdoses, but really were murders because we know that the fentanyl gangs operate with both the knowledge and the approval and the support of the Chinese regime.
Wow. And Mexico would stop in 5 minutes if China told them to.
Absolutely. I mean, Mexico would not permit the cartels to have all those Chinese technicians. Chinese technicians are actually, in Mexico mixing the precursor compounds that come from China. So that is, they've sort of slowed it down a little bit, but it's still occurring. And any death is unacceptable.
I agree, Gordon. It's so eye-opening. You got to come back on again. We always love having you, Gordon, and boy, is that an important topic, too. Gordon, thank you so much. And again, as John was saying, check out your Twitter handle, Gordon G. Chang. Gordon is always on it with all of this important stuff. Thank you, Gordon, so much. And
have a great weekend, guys.
You too.
Thank you, Gordon.
You too. And John, I understand we have calling in the former spokesperson for Benjamin Netanyahu. Let's get a take of what's going on in Israel.
I'll take calling in right now, Tal Heinrich, and she is the former spokeswoman of the Prime Minister of Israel, Mr. Netanyahu. And she's also worked for an Israeli journalist, and she's also worked for Channel 14, Trinity Broadcasting Network, and also Channel 10 in Israel for the business channel. Well, Tal, you've been with us before. Give us, where are we? The United States has bombed Iran 13 days in a row, maybe 14 tonight. Israel has been keeping their eyes open on what's going on with Lebanon. You give us the update.
John, it's a pleasure to join you here. You see, it's been, as you said, almost 2 weeks now of renewed U.S. strikes in Iran after the talks reached some kind of a stalemate, or in other words, the Trump administration seems to have discovered the extent to which the Iranians are not serious at all about stopping their pursuit of nukes. They don't wish to start acting like a normal nation, so it seems. We knew that. When by we, I mean Israelis knew that. All they want to do, they want to keep blackmailing the West through their control of the Strait. But you see, there are all indications right now that President Trump has likely decided that this extortion has to stop. It has an expiration date, and he's the one deciding. He's talking about, we've seen these reports about bigger than ever before, major military punishment. Secretary Rubio said that the president's approach is a head for an eye, although I think I should tell you that I don't believe they mind losing their they don't mind, rather, losing their head, an eye, and an arm if that meant bringing down the West to some kind of submission along this process. But so we're seeing this rhetorical buildup, but there's also the staging out there with the spread of forces in the region, the overall massive deployment across this whole military theater. So this could develop in various ways, the way I see it. I know what I want to see because we're at the stage of a job half done. And I think the best option is fight hard, fight fast, and just, causes serious damage to the lifeline, the major lifeline of this regime, and that would be the energy infrastructure. Of course, that would come with a cost, but I think that the lessons that we learned throughout history, even, the lesson we learned on October 7th is that you don't want a long war of some kind of tit-for-tat, attrition style. You have to finish the job, as they say, finish the job as quick as you can. And that we will gain a lot down the road in the future if we did that. And not slowly dragging our feet.
We only got another 30 seconds left. I have to ask you one more question. The fact is, we got the Iranians that are pulling the strings with Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. But the Iranians are running out of money. So give us your pulse of that.
So, also, the past years have shown that when you cut the lifeline for the regime, when you put sanctions on them, the more you do that after President Trump pulled out of the JCPOA, the terrible Iran nuclear deal, if you remember, that was signed in 2015, we saw that the money headed for the proxies, arming of the proxies, was also drying out. But then, things have changed, and the proxies gain dominance across the region, and they get their marching orders from Iran. So obviously, there are two things to say here. One, yes,
who's going to control the Hezbollah? Who's going to control the Houthis? And what happens with the Hamas? Is it all over for them?
We should remember the Hamas. So Hamas, for example, existed long before they got support from Iran. So that's the second thing I was about to say. Yes, the proxies
Hezbollah
have their own. They will sort of dry out, but we'll still have to take care of them. Are the
Saudis going to take care of the Houthis?
Well, first they have to have the green light from where. But they were trying to, if you remember, There was a war in Yemen. So for the sake of that, the Houthis were hitting them hard even before this entire, thing developed. This war started.
Thank you. We have to go to a break, but thank you so much for being on and telling the American people your opinion and the facts of what's going on. Thank you, and we'll catch up with you again real soon.
Thank you so much, John.
Wow, very interesting. We'll see what's happening, you guys, with everything with Iran, John.
Now we got Randy Mastro coming on. He was first deputy mayor under Mayor Eric Adams, and he actually ran the whole city for a year or so, and he was also deputy mayor under Mayor Rudy Giuliani for many years. Randy, you're trying to defend the business people in the city, in the real estate industry from going broke, and defending them against, how do you say? Evil.
The rent freeze.
The rent freeze.
I was
the rent
say
freeze
evil.
War. I know
the
you
evil
were.
Rent freeze,
the evil rent freeze is a good way
Randy
to
Mastro,
phrase it.
give us a report. What the heck is going on, and explain it simply, because most of the people listening don't understand technical words. I use simple words that I learned in the 8th grade.
Okay, John. Well, it's a pleasure to be with all of you. Simple words. Zohar Mamdani ran for mayor, promised a rent freeze. Had no right to promise a rent freeze. It's supposed to be based on an independent board assessing market conditions, applying statutory criteria, churning through the data and letting the data dictate whether rent increases are available. Instead, Zoran Mondani promised a rent freeze and then went to extraordinary lengths after he got elected to deliver on that promise. He packed that independent board with a supermajority of loyalists. He spent millions of dollars of taxpayer money to generate screaming tenants advocates at the hearings. He even had City Hall representatives give special briefings to that independent board on issues like what they called, quote, the true cost of living, end quote, in New York City, just so those board members would know exactly what the mayor expected of them. And at the end of the day, that board delivered on the mayor's promise, not by applying the law, not by adhering to the data, but to deliver a predetermined outcome that was the result of a sham process directed by the mayor by fiat.
Now, before Mayor Adams left office, he appointed a bunch of people that were supposedly were common sense, fair people. But I understand, how do I say it in a nice way? They were forced out. I mean, is there any truth to that, what I was told?
Well, there were multiple people who, after originally agreeing to serve, day one and shortly after Zoran Mondani became mayor, they backed out. I'm not going to speculate on the reasons, John. I'm just going to say.
Listen, I didn't. I am an average person on the air that we have a talk show. That means I can speculate.
So, Randy, I didn't.
Wait, and we have got Patterson.
If this was a news show, on news shows tell 100% what the truth is. I give you speculation sometimes. Governor Patterson, you wanted to say something?
No, I just want Randy to know I didn't back out. It's just that when it gets down to no people, that you don't have a board anymore.
Well, here's the thing. He then packed that board with people who were handpicked. Some of them had been campaign supporters of his. Others had already been very public about, issues like a rent freeze. It was not, a fair process. It was not an independent board. It was his hand-picked acolytes, and it was a supermajority of them. But leaving that aside, you know how we know this was a sham process, a predetermined outcome? Because one longtime board member quit the morning of the vote because, as she said publicly, she refused to be part of a sham process that was delivering a predetermined outcome. It's not me saying it. It's a board member who refused to allow herself to be a part of that process. Do you know how remarkable that is?
That is, Governor, Randy, that is absolutely remarkable. We also have Judge Weinberg here, Randy.
Randy, good to talk to you.
Okay. Good.
And
It's good to talk to you too, Judge. And Governor, Judge, you know how extraordinary that is. Not only that a person would resign, but then in such stark terms call it out publicly. To me, that's not only remarkable, it's unprecedented. And it explains why there has to be relief here, because thousands of small landlords hang in the balance. They are struggling to survive. Their costs are spiking, yet they get no ability to increase rents at all over the next 2 years on 1,000 rent-stabilized apartments. That is unconscionable.
Took a lot of courage.
Randy, you have a great case. I've reviewed it. I think you have compelling legal arguments. A fair bench will rule in your favor. You'll get the relief that you need.
Spoken by the judge.
Spoken by the judge.
From your lips, Judge. Yeah.
And we got Ed Cox.
And the Department of Mass Engagement. You've served more than one mayor. Have you ever heard of something like that? And what's their role in this process?
Okay, so I'm so glad you asked that question, because there has been historically an Office of Mass Engagement in City Hall that is an office to go out and let people, like in NYCHA and other settings where there are government services to access, where they might qualify for certain government programs, to get out there and let people know what government offers. This has been converted in this administration into a political arm of the DSA. And this mayor is spending many, many millions of dollars more on that office. He's expanded its size dramatically to basically promote his political agenda, to do things that he's also reopened an office that it was defunct, but now is under this She Weaver, this Office of Tenants' Rights. And they go out and they have public fora on tenants' grievances against landlords. It's a political arm. I don't know how he gets away with it. You're not supposed to be spending government dollars on your own political operation. And this has got DSA written all over it.
I'm just an ordinary grocery man. So I'm not a lawyer. I have an honorary degree. I don't know what that gets you. But there could be a federal case here. If there's a grand jury opens up with the U.S. attorney, the grand jury questioning these people under oath if they would have instructions to what to do if they became a member of that board.
Well, John, I'm here today for one purpose: to get justice for small landlords in this city who are struggling to survive and who were mistreated. Worse than that, they have been abandoned by their local government and an independent process that's supposed to result in a fair result that balances the interests of all concerned. And by the way, that fair balance, that data shows that landlords' costs are spiking and their income is going down, yet they got 0 on rent increases for the next 2 years. That's wrong, and somebody's got to fight for it.
They used to say something is rotten in Denmark, something is rotten in New York on that. Randy, we have to take a break, and let's talk again real soon.
Thanks, John. Pleasure to be with all of you.
And,
keep up the fight.
Before we take that break, I got an announcement to make that in the supermarket industry, a guy that I knew for 40 years, 50 years, Morton Sloan, from the Sloan's family, and the name of the stores were Morton Williams, passed away today. And he was a good guy. He just sold his company to ShopRite in about 6 months ago, and he died.
Wow,
he
a
died.
great man.
And it's a sad day, and he was a good man. I served on the pension board with him on Local 338, and he was a good person, and we used to light the menorah at every with Rabbi Buttman.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a very, very sad day, and let's go to that break now, and we're going to come back with Joe Concha.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
Well, everybody is going to be tuning in tonight to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And I have a feeling Joe Concha is going to be tuning in to see what the president has to say. And, of course, you can hear Joe Concha every weeknight here on 77 WABC. And, Joe, he's going to be on at 9 o'clock. That's right around the Joe Concha show, I believe.
Exactly. People are going to have to toggle back and forth between two great entertainment options. And
two great entertainment icons, all right?
Oh, wow. That's a lot of pressure. But, yeah, look, I mean, we all know that Donald Trump is the Don Rickles of the presidency in terms of his ability to roast, and he will roast the media, who is as trusted as gas station sushi at this point. And, again, all these journalists, more than 500, wrote a letter saying that Donald Trump must stop his attacks on the media and the free and fair press. Yeah, you know what? If you're going to write letters to a president complaining about press coverage, you should thank your lucky stars that Trump is in office, because these journalists have more access than they ever had before with any other president, and yet they continue to criticize him. While during the Auto Pen administration, you could find Edward Snowden before you could find Joe Biden in front of a microphone taking questions from reporters. 0 press conferences his final year in office, even after dropping out. So, yeah, reporters and journalists should thank what they have here as far as access and a transparent president that talks to them on a daily basis, and stop complaining so much about Trump because you don't like some of the mean tweets that he may have.
You know, Joe, you're right. I was even watching just today alone. Probably the questions that he took were probably more than Joe Biden and his whole presidency. And I don't know if you saw this, it was the second question. I don't think it was the first one, but I think it was the second question. Came from a New York Times reporter who was at, okay, what's your question about Iran? And the first question was, Mr. President, are you committing war crimes by considering hitting bombs, by considering hitting bridges and power plants? And the president said, where are you from? And he goes, New York Times. And he said, get out of here. You're fake news. I mean, I feel like it's like a preview of what's going to come tonight.
Of course. I mean, and it bears repeating. The New York Times, they're the paper of record, and they have serious journalists. This is a paper that has not endorsed a Republican presidential candidate since Dwight D. Eisenhower in 1956. I'm not very good at math, but I'm pretty sure that's, 60, 70 years ago? I mean, come on. So, yeah, the fact that he pushes back on stupid questions like that, and obvious biased questions, that doesn't make him mean. It doesn't mean he's treating the press poorly. He's just using his First Amendment right. When a stupid question is asked, he'll say it's stupid, and that's his right just as much as that reporter's right to ask the question of the president in the first place.
Absolutely, but he takes the question, and that's what's amazing about it. Even if he doesn't care where the media is, he takes them, which is so incredible, and the way it should be. Ed Cox.
Every chance he gets, he will stop and say something to the press. And something that is intriguing, something that's interesting. I mean, they're feasting off him. They should appreciate him.
Yeah, I think he's keeping a lot of media outlets in business at this point, Mr. Koch. I mean, I honestly, without Trump, what would ratings be like at CNN, where they have more, employees than they do viewers at this point, right? Or even the New York Times, Washington Post. He's the guy who keeps things interesting and keeps these publications.
Remember,
and
he put Morning Joe on the map in the 2016 campaign, right?
Precisely, yes. So that's where we're at this point. And you're right. He'll take questions on Air Force One, and he'll take questions in the Oval Office, and he'll take questions before he goes to Marine One. The guy takes questions. You might not like the answers, but at least he's talking to the press, unlike, again, Joe Biden, who did so few questions. And then even when he make a statement, he'd run off like Saquon Barkley before anybody could ask a question. I never saw a guy move so fast. It was amazing.
Actually, Joe, when Biden had press conferences, and they talked about this today, they had to submit the questions in advance, and then the Biden people would send back the questions they were allowed to answer. So,
and then he would have the answers on the cue card. Remember, half the time, it would say, person over here,
plus the
surprise question.
Plus the designated reporter. Right. He wasn't taking independent voices. He knew exactly who the reporter was, what the question was.
Yeah, you'd see the cue card.
Guys, we got to move on. We are over time, and we are interfering with Mark Levin's hour.
Oh, we can't do that. Joe, will you
what do we all stand for?
Truth, justice, and American way.
God bless America.
Mark Levin in progress.
Thanks for listening to Cats and Cosby with John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. You can hear Cats and Cosby weekdays at 5. It's the 5 o'clock show on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?